Hi, Gaye DeRusso with the Majestic Rider. So today I want to talk to you about your saddle sliding off to the side. Many of us have issues as we're riding. Our saddle slips, and sometimes we think we're leaning, we think the horse is leaning, and we keep standing up and shoving it back over to the other side, which does not feel good for the horse and it doesn't feel good for us. So when you put the saddle on, most of the time it looks totally even. But then as you're riding, people are like, your saddle, it keeps sliding to the right. And you're like, to the right? Why does it always go to the right? There's a reason why. With the horses, their shoulder blades, which is up in front, and that's where your tree of your saddle goes right behind those shoulder blades. A lot of times on the left-hand side of the horse, that shoulder blade is bigger. So I'm going to raise this up a little bit. So that shoulder blade is bigger and they have more muscles over on this side of their body. It might be because they're worked more on the left. It might be that's just the way the horse was made, okay? None of us are symmetric. All of us have like one arm longer than the other, one leg, we're not exact. So it's the same with the horses. So a lot of times though, it's more the left. The left shoulder is usually bigger, but not on all of the horses. Then you put your saddle behind it, okay? So you got a big shoulder on one side, a smaller shoulder, and it's their muscles around the shoulder that are smaller, and then smaller muscles in the back. So what happens is as that horse is moving, it starts pushing your saddle as you're riding. So as it pushes the saddle, what happens with the person up there is they start going like this, and they start twisting. And then all of a sudden you're like, why am I on the right side of the horse? I got to fix it. And you stand up, push down on the other side, and you get yourself back in the middle. And then you're riding around, and it happens again. You're like, what the heck? I'm over here again. So you get off, you tighten the girth, you pull the saddle back over, you ride some more, happens again. The reason it keeps happening is because that shoulder keeps pushing the saddle off to the right-hand side. So what you need to do is shim the saddle or have a custom-made saddle that fits that horse. And what you're trying to do is build up the right side so it evens it out and makes the horse even, and that way your saddle will fit correctly. Because what's happening right now is the saddle's fitting good on the left, but it's loose on the right. So as that shoulder moves, it pushes the saddle, and since there's nothing here catching it, it pushes it off, and then your saddle goes off to the right. So I'm going to show you shim pad and what you should do, and that usually makes a big difference. You do have to kind of play trial and error and see how much of a shim do you need. So you start with, small one. If that doesn't work, you add another one, until you figure it out. Okay, so I want to show you the saddle on Tilly. So when you're trying to see if the saddle's level, you're looking at the conchos, so this concho and this concho, and you're making sure it's level, which it is. And then on the other side, you always check both sides. So is it level? So it is. So concho is lined up with that concho. Okay. Now Tilly has an issue that a lot of horses do. Her left shoulder, this shoulder, is bigger than her right shoulder, which I'll show you when I take off the saddle. I'll take a picture. And so what that does is when she's moving, it makes my saddle, because this shoulder pushes it, it makes my saddle slip off that side. Okay, so it pushes it, and then when I get off, it's always hanging off to the right hand side. So right now you'll see this is her tail. It's pretty level. I loosened up the girth now because I'm done. But that happens with a lot of horses. People don't know that one shoulder is bigger than the other. So if your saddle is twisting when you're riding and you keep like shoving it over, there's a easy way to fix it, because again, it's usually that one shoulder is bigger than the other, and that's what's shoving the saddle over. So this shoulder, when it's moving, is pushing my saddle. It's hard to, let me try to do it far away. So this shoulder, when it's moving, is pushing my saddle, and it pushes it off that side. It pushes it off to the right, the opposite way. So let me take the saddle off. Okay, so this is what you want to do, is stand directly behind your horse. See how her shoulder on her left is much higher than the one on the right. The one on the right looks like it's more forward. It's just because it doesn't have all this muscle. So she has more, a bigger shoulder on this side, more muscle, even in here on her back. And then on the other side, this dips down actually, okay? It's hard to show you, but it dips down. So let me try from farther away. So this dips down here, And her shoulder blade, which is right there, is much smaller versus, I'm trying to hold it on her butt and go up and touch it. Her back here is much more raised up, and then this shoulder is much bigger. So what this does, because this is raised up and this is, you know, smaller on this side, it shoves the saddle over that direction. Okay, so this is why I like these saddle pads that you can put the shims in here. So what I did was put a bunch of shims in here, you know, and it's just trial and error. You try it and see if it works or not. And you want to make this, you're trying to make this match the other side so your saddle's not shifting. So I padded this up pretty well. I also padded this, but I think this is almost too much padding, so I'm going to take some of that out and just a little pad back here. So what I'm trying to do is make this side level. Now I'm going to go to the other side with this side. So you'll see I don't have any shims on this side at all, okay? So that way, when this shoulder's pushing, the other side will actually catch it because now I've made it level. So some of your horses don't have that problem. Your saddle doesn't shift, but a lot of us do because, you know, all horses are different. And most horses, their left shoulder's bigger because people work them more on that left side. And maybe it's something also to do with their, you know, just the way they're made. But you can see now I have shims on the right-hand side. Tilly's like, what are you doing? I was good today. So I have shims over here and none over here. And that has fixed her. So now my saddle doesn't slide off, but it kept sliding off like that. That's what kept happening with my saddle. And I would stand up and shove it back over. And I was like, I got to shim this and stop being lazy and fix it. So, you know, our saddles are made symmetric, but most horses are asymmetric. And you can have a custom saddle made, you know, that's asymmetric. For your horse if you don't want to pad it up, but this is just what I do, and it's fixed the problem, and it's fixed the problem on many horses I ride. All right, so I hope that helps if your saddle's slipping, and now you have the answer on how to fix it.